Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. In this video, I'm going to have a look at various data sources and see if I can see what's going on with Guild of Guardians. So Guild of Guardians, mobile RPG with NFTs in it. It's just gone live a day ago. So I'm going to look at various sort of data sources around sort of blockchain interactivity and sort of see if I can see what's going on there. There's not been any announcements about sort of the launch yet. I'd expect that in the next sort of week or so. We do know that there were 1 million pre-registrations for the game via mobile app stores, so it's gone live via Apple and Google. I mean, it's been in development for a while, so those obviously that number sort of built up over time. But it's interesting to see, you know, how many people have downloaded the game and started playing it. Yesterday there was an early problem with the servers, so I think it sort of suggests that they were, you know, people had downloaded it and were playing it. But you know, the other issue we have to sort of think about is you could just play this game as a normal sort of Web 2 game, a normal just game, mobile game, without touching any of the blockchain stuff. So you have to be a little bit careful what we're actually tracking. So what we're looking at here is obviously open blockchain stuff. So we're looking at how a player, in this case actually technically a wallet, would interact with the blockchain. And in the case of the game, there are sort of two things you can do. You can mint an NFT, create an NFT. So actually you would take one of your in-game characters and ascend it. That's what they call it, and it becomes an NFT. Or you can take a character that has been ascended and ascend it a higher level, and in that case you're burning a NFT. So those are the two things. Obviously you can play the game without ascending characters, although ascending characters do make them more powerful, so probably people will be doing that over time. And obviously ascending them more, you're sort of burning NFTs, although that's probably a bit more of a secondary thing, more for the sort of the hardcore people. So that's what we're looking to see, and always bearing in mind trying to be sort of careful around data and in general, I think, you know, for that sort of game, what we might call a Web 2.5 game or a Web 2.1 game, it almost, you know, the blockchain is very sort of, in a sense, secondary to most people's experiences, certainly in the early stages of the game. I guess over time we'd hope to see more people interacting with the blockchain in Guild of Guardians, but maybe that's not a day one sort of thing. We'll see. I'm always very optimistic, but let's start off with DappRadar. I think it was a good place to start. And here I'm looking at Immutable. So Immutable, the whole blockchain, so it's actually called the Immutable EVM, ZK EVM blockchain. It actually runs on Polygon, but that's another story. And this is sort of the graph that we, you know, potentially there's two things with graphs. There's the shape of the graph and the absolute values of the graph. So to some degree, you know, maybe this looks hopeful. There's nothing going on, and then there's this sort of big rise in activity. You know, 120,000 wallets here in 10th and 11th of May. You know, lots of activity going on here. Only problem with this graph is Guild of Guardians went live on the 15th of May. So we do actually have a spike there on the 15th of May, 113,000 wallets. So maybe that we could think, oh, that looks pretty cool. But then what were all these wallets before the game went live through the app stores doing? That's the odd thing. So we could look down here, and actually DappRadar tells us what the top dApps on Immutable Immutable ZK EVM are, and it's actually Boomland. So you can see here there's a few other ones, but Boomland is doing all the, you know, it's doing pretty much 100% of the volume. We actually click on Boomland here, which is actually a mobile game that's launching. And we can see here, there we go. You know, the initial graph we were seeing is basically Boomland. So Boomland is sort of, as I say, it's not live yet. It's sort of, it was on Polygon. It's now comes to Immutable. They're doing a whole bunch of sort of testing and onboarding and all this sort of stuff. So that's what's going on here. This game is not really live in the way that Guild of Guardians has gone live. So this shape, although it, to some degree, looks like it could be a big spike on the 15th. Nothing to do with Guild of Guardians. So okay, let's actually look at Guild of Guardians itself. So on DappRadar we can see the actual page for Guild of Guardians, and again, shape-wise, this looks good now. So we've got sort of bobbing along here, a bit of testing, bit of sort of soft launch stuff maybe, and then on the 15th of May, there we go. We have a big spike. That's what we expect to see. Problem here, I guess, not the problem here, but the surprising thing here, I suppose, is the number of wallets. So 112 wallets. So that's not very many. If we think, if I think in my head, 1 million downloads or 500,000 downloads or something like that, it's a big number, and hundreds of thousands of people playing the game, then if we're down to 100 sort of wallets, then that's sort of 0.1%. That doesn't seem very much. And particularly for a game that's been around for a while and probably has some sort of a fan base who within the crypto world, and maybe people like me, maybe there's not 112 people like me, but people like me who already own NFTs and are quite keen to play the game. So there we go. If that's the case, that's maybe a bit disappointing. But maybe DappRadar's not tracking the right things here. Doesn't always do that. And there can be some issues around obviously ZK EVM is a new chain, and exactly what a transaction might be. DappRadar might not be tracking the right smart contracts. But obviously it is for Boomland, I suppose. That would be the other idea. So that's something else we can look at is Token Trove. So Token Trove is the main marketplace where you trade NFTs on ZK EVM. So this is across all the games on there. But again, the shape of the graph to me seems right. So we have it's at all-time high here. Looks like. So for some reason it's not showing any transactions. Don't want to. DappRadar's doing something weird there. We see a sort of a spike on the day that Guild of Guardians goes live. I mean, that's exactly what we want to see. And there's actually also this spike here on the 8th of May. 8th of May was actually when Guild of Guardians did this Cracked Heart NFT, started this feature, and you could take NFTs you didn't want and burn them and create these Cracked Heart NFTs which you can use in the game for Ascension. So we're sort of seeing exactly the graph shape we would expect to see. We're seeing Guild of Guardians launches something on the 8th of May and we see a spike, and then Guild of Guardians launches on the 15th of May and we see a spike. The thing we're not seeing here again is absolute values seem a bit low, so we've got $1,500 worth of trading. Now the NFTs in Guild of Guardians, some of them very high end, can be very expensive, but the sort of cheapest ones are like $3 to $5. So that could be right in the sense that there's these are sort of low item low price items, but $1,500 doesn't seem very much. But maybe if it's only 100 people doing it, then that's all spending $10 each, so a couple of NFTs each. Can't judge that. Let's have a look at Token Trove specifically for Guild of Guardians. So this is their specific activity page. Looking at the orange bars here, this is showing the volume. So again, for some reason, this is different to so this doesn't really. The shape here is sort of not what I expect, but sort of not. So we have this big spike on the 8th of May, which is, I'm suggesting, when the hardcore sort of NFT fans are buying up NFTs to burn them. 15th of May doesn't give us much, actually. 15th of May, you wouldn't know a game had launched then. So 1,400-ish NFTs being bought and sold. Higher than some days, but not massively so. And again, the sort of total transactions, sort of not massive volume. I mean, the daily average price is going up, so that may be something we'd expect, sort of more expensive NFTs being bought as people can actually use them, but it's still not as high as it has been on other days. So a little bit unsure there. And let's finally have a look at Immutable. So this is the block explorer for Immutable ZK EVM. So the whole blockchain. What can we see here? And again, looking at this, you don't see 15th of May. You don't see massive sort of spikes. And again, you sort of have this weird thing where you do have a spike on the 11th and 12th of May, but that's Boomland. So new accounts. Boomland is creating all these new accounts. And on the 15th of May, there are new accounts there. There's like 28,000 new accounts, but that's not very clear that that's Guild of Guardians. Cumulative accounts is always going up, obviously, but there's no sort of change of good gradient there. Active accounts is going up, so it's actually sort of back to 120,000 active accounts. So that's sort of, again, the sort of shape we want to see. But again, it's difficult to say this because Boomland was actually pretty busy that day as well. So 111,000 daily active unique wallets there. So it's a lot higher than that. So this is not just Boomland. So maybe there's something going on there. But again, it's sort of not it's not sort of clear. It's not definitive proof. I would say, new transactions sort of rising. That's actually an all-time high. So that might be something we'd expect to see. But it's not doubling or anything like that. Obviously, the immutable ZK EVM is being used by lots of other games at the moment, but you wouldn't think any of them are on the scale of a Guild of Guardians. So to sort of come to some conclusion, in some graphs we sort of see the shapes that we might sort of expect to see ahead of time, but the sort of absolute numbers seem wrong. We've got this sort of confounding factor that Boomland is doing all this activity, which is sort of hard to sort of strip away. On these graphs, that you have this sort of game that's we didn't expect to see and is doing these big numbers, and maybe that's sort of taking away some of the effect we would see otherwise with Guild of Guardians. But I think probably the conclusion I would have at the moment is that Guild of Guardians, we're not really seeing much activity, blockchain activity. So I'm not saying this number is right, but the ones where we see the shape of the graph sort of being right and just the numbers are wrong, then probably that means that maybe the numbers are less wrong than we think. But at least we're seeing the shapes there. So I'll keep an eye on this over the coming days. I think probably with a game like Guild of Guardians, where you can play the whole game for a year without touching the blockchain. The blockchain is not obvious. It doesn't tell people to do it. It's not so it's only the sort of blockchain people who are really into it who are doing this, and maybe those are the hundreds of people rather than the tens of thousands of people. And we sort of know that. I guess broadly in the sector. So probably I've been a bit overly optimistic, but as I say, it's sort of early days, and we'll sort of look to see what happens with Guild of Guardians as it rolls out more content, and obviously as more people download it, and there's sort of they've not really done much marketing. I don't think they've done any marketing at all at the moment, so they're sort of waiting to get the launch out of the way, and then they'll sort of reach out to get more players in there, and then we'll start to see over the sort of coming days and weeks how this data is actually sort of playing out, and get a better idea there. So I'll keep an eye on that. Please subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.